Hello, hello. Good morning. Well, if you're watching this on Wednesday morning, welcome to 10 Minutes with Todd at Beyond 615. Hey, so much of the Christian music industry is breathed into and written, produced, mixed, released from the 615, which is the Nashville area code. And so the purpose of going beyond 615 is taking this music and getting it out into local communities. So whether you're a songwriter, a producer, work at a label, work at a radio station, I'm trying to do my best to highlight some of these people who make our industry very, very special. And so I want to take 10 minutes to get to know somebody. And today we are going to talk with, from Boxer Poet, radio promotion and consultant, Andrea Kleid.
And there she is.
We're done
Hello,
this before.
hello. Isn't it so fun?
I think so. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest.
Really? Don't be
Yeah,
nervous.
I know.
It's two friends talking, right?
Two friends. Okay, I won't get into it, but I was thinking we literally followed each other across the country in our careers. Like when you were in Florida, I was in Florida. I know we're going to talk about all this, but
Yeah?
morning.
Are you stalking me?
A little bit.
Okay, we only have 10 minutes, okay? Don't want to waste
Okay.
anybody's time, including yours. I'm going to say a phrase or ask a question. I would love you to react. I'm going to set my watch, set a timer for 10 minutes.
Let's do it.
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
All right, here we go. Andrea Kleid. I've not met anyone else with the pronunciation of your first name. So I got to ask you, your dear mom, how did she decide to go with Andrea, which is spelled Andrea, and not Andrea?
Yeah. You know, she's no longer with us, but I sure did give her lots of hell for that. Am I allowed to say on here? Um,
Yes.
because my entire life, obviously, people have called me Andrea, Andrea, a million different forms of it. But it's as simple as she saw a French movie and she loved the pronunciation. And the name of the movie is Andrea. And as I understand it, it's not even a good movie, but she just liked how it was pronounced. But it has been my thorn in my side for 42 years.
You know, sometimes I call Andrea's Andrea
I
because
know.
of you. It's just your mind. You have to think before you address someone.
Yeah, like Andrea at CMB, like everyone calls her Andrea and vice versa. So,
You
yeah,
must be a trendsetter.
yeah, I am a trendsetter.
So your mom is kind of like my wife and I. We named our firstborn Bailey from the show Party of Five
Oh,
because we
really?
loved Bailey. Now his character, he was, he struggled with substance abuse, but that's the claim to fame how he got his name.
Wow. Party of Five. I haven't heard that in a long time. That was a good show.
That was a good show. It was the guy that was went on to be on Lost.
Oh, really?
He was on that show.
I
I
missed
can't.
all of that. I didn't
Yeah.
realize
Well, you were busy. You were busy.
that.
All right. You mentioned it already. You and I go way back. Some people don't know this, but you were actually my intern in in the 90s at a radio station.
I know. WNLT Cincinnati. What was his cousin Vern?
Cousin Vern. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was thinking about that recently and I was like, you gave me crap because at the time I was working part-time at McDonald's too. And like I would tell you like, hey, I've got to leave at 2 or something, and you would be like, gotta go make the nuggets. And the other thing you don't know, is Melissa and I used to sit in the back studio and listen to like the CCM hits from the 90s, and we would turn them into lounge songs. So like she and I, we would literally be like loading in new singles into the system, and we would just have our own like karaoke party and had the best freaking time. That was seriously the best internship, because I was planning on being a film director, and my professor in college was like, I want you just to try radio, because I was a radio and TV major. And I liked Christian music. So I was like, well, okay, I'll call one of the stations nearby. But I mean, it's really part of the reason I ended up in the industry.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's a fun story too. Hey, by the way, WNLT was the very first station in Cincinnati to stream online.
Oh, really?
Yep. Well,
How
it
did
was a
you
big
know?
deal. It was before streaming was like this big deal. The Channel 5 came out and did a story on it, and it was really cool.
I remember the day you left to go to WFM, they gifted you with a really cool briefcase. Like, I mean, it was like one you could wear over your shoulder, but
Yeah,
I remember that day very well.
I still have that.
You do? That's
Nice leather briefcase. Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Okay, so you ended up in Florida, worked at
Yeah.
WayFM, worked at the Joy FM over in Sarasota, and then how did you? I don't even think I know this. How did you end up in the end, like on the other side of the industry, in the record label side?
Yeah, so I fell in love with radio, and I was at WFM for close to 4 years, and then I was at the Joy FM for a year. And during that time, I actually got WFM West Palm Beach to be a reporter on Billboard, or at the time, Radio and Records, because we were playing different music than what Nashville was playing. And so naturally, I started building relationships at record labels. And I can actually blame Kat Davis, who is now, has been she's Matt Maher's manager for anyone who doesn't know her. And she manages several other people, but she was at Forefront Records at the time. And they were looking for a new radio person, and she and I just got along, and I was like, this is so freaking cool. Like, I was the kid that read like liners out of the CD or tape, depending on what it was. So I knew a lot of the names that were producers and things like that. And that early in your career, like, you're still, not that I'm not, but you're still such a fan of the artist and the music.
Yeah.
So when that came open, it wasn't the best timing, because I'd only been at the Joy FM for a year. And you never like to leave somewhere that quick, but I just knew this was my open door. And so I said yes, and it ended up being kind of a mess, because Forefront got sucked into EMI, which is now Capital at the time. But it was the right thing for me, and I'm glad I listened to my gut, because I've loved being on the record side.
Some say you had the most iconic radio promotion team from your time at Word. It really was an amazing team, and I feel like you're all doing something differently now.
Yeah, it's it's funny, because when you're like that age, or maybe it's just being young, I don't know. Now that I'm in my 40s, things feel different. But you think those days are never going to end. Like, it was Kenny Rogers, Brian Thiel, Ruth Ann White, Allie McCoskey, Sarah Anderson, Brooke Hardesty, and there was a couple versions of that team during those 9 or 10 years that we were there. But man, like, I look back at those years, and it's like I made a lot of mistakes, but I feel like we took a lot of chances too. We took that label from the number 5 label, maybe number 6, to be honest, to number 2 over those 8 or 9 years. And it was the golden years, man. Like, I look back, and it's sort of heartbreaking, that it fell apart the way, and it didn't fall apart. We all made decisions to leave, but I don't know that I'll ever have that sort of experience ever again. It was a really beautiful, like, 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, yeah. I have things in my career too that I would echo that, to where, like, I hope I recapture that someday. But if I don't, man, those are beautiful memories.
Yeah.
Beautiful memories. Okay, we're running out of time here. The timer's going to go off any second. But
All
really quickly, I think you were one of the first people to introduce me to Enneagram personality types. How did you find Enneagram? How did it find you?
Yeah. It sort of found me, again, back to Kat Davis. I can blame her for a lot of things. She introduced me about 2 years before I was even interested, or, I wasn't open enough to really take it in. But Enneagram for me, you know, I've always been fascinated with what makes people tick. And I sort of fell on that sword towards the end of the time I was at Word. You know, a lot of people might think like, oh, that was part of the reason why everything was so special. Like, no, I messed up a lot. And, but having those experiences of managing 6 people, it's like, I learned you can't manage people the same way. And so Enneagram became like a grid for me to recognize like, oh, you know, there are really 9 different motivations. And if you can understand someone's motivation, you can manage them. And honestly, you can communicate with them differently than you do somebody else. So it was just the exact grid that I needed to not only understand other people, but to also create more self-awareness in my life too.
That's good. So good. And I would say that you are, from my perspective, a healthy Enneagram 8, and 8s are always known as the most complex and sometimes most difficult to get along with, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think 8s in particular, just like every type, when I teach Enneagram, I teach sort of the memes of what Enneagram types are known for. And as 8s, we're known for being kind of hot headed and sometimes aggressive, and we make decisions the spur of a moment. So, you know, all of those things are inside of me. Let me be clear. Like, I think sometimes with Enneagram, people think like, oh, I'm in a healthy season or I'm not. And it's like, no, moment by moment, we can choose to be healthy. And so, yeah, I've done a lot of work, and not just with Enneagram, but in therapy as well, to understand like, you know, our formative experiences growing up and just hard trauma stuff that we all go through, like it really creates these defense mechanisms inside of ourselves to respond a certain way. And it takes that self-awareness to recognize like, okay, this is how I'm perceived, which sucks sometimes, you know. Like I always say, you know, your Enneagram type when you read it and you go, oh my god, that is totally me. Like it makes you feel sick to your stomach. But that's like the beginning of the breakthrough, right? It's like you and I were texting beforehand talking about another friend of ours who's an Enneagram 8, also very healthy. And I tell you what, it is not easy to take those steps to get there, but I think it is moment by moment. You know, it's like the reactionary version of us is never the best version. So 8s are the worst. Like we have to take a deep breath. If we didn't have people watching, most people can handle me, but offline, I'll tell you a phrase that comes to Enneagram 8s immediately. But then like 1 second later, we're in the problem solving stage. You know, we're known for our expletives, whether we like it or not.
No, I get it. I'm finding myself on I'm an Enneagram 3, and I'm finding myself in the middle of a deconstruction and rebuilding process with God right now that I'm currently in, and it's not fun,
Yeah,
honestly,
no.
but it's so needed, and I'm learning so much about others and myself, and even, you know, obviously spending more time with God, that I would never trade it in for anything. But it's hard to face those moments of, wow, okay, there's change that is happening, and it's a little painful.
Yeah, it is painful. And I think good for you. Good on you for going through the deconstruction, because I think that word is so faux pas in the Christian bubbles, because people think like, oh no, that means they're questioning the Bible or something like that. And I think the word deconstruction, you know, comes before you rebuild. And no matter what, whether that's your faith or, you know, self-awareness, I think it's so important, because if you aren't, I say this all the time, if you aren't willing, if you're believing the same things at 42 years old, which is my age, that I believed when I was 22, like something's wrong. And that doesn't, it panics people sometimes in the Christian bubble to be like, what do you mean? Like, you know, this is truth. And it's like, no, we're talking about our views on God. We're talking about our views on people. Like we should be breaking those things down and rebuilding them, you know, like the judgments we have towards people are all about us and all about our experiences. And like the sooner we learn that, the better off I think we're going to be. I think we've gone over 10 minutes.
We did, my watch just went off, but
Okay.
I'm just so enjoying what you're saying. So if you don't know, Clyde, if you stumbled upon this video somehow, she probably won't say this and she'll probably correct me, but she is one of the reasons that Bethel music has become more mainstream and successful in Christian radio, as well as other things that bands she's involved with. So thank you for the work that you do to help Christian radio and really our CCM industry in the 615 grow. I mean, you've got a big part of that.
Thanks, Todd. I'm excited for Beyond 615 and all that you're doing too. And anyone has any questions about Todd Stach, you call me because I've known him for too many years.
She'll tell you the good and the bad, I'm sure.
No, just the good.
Well, thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Take care. See you.
All right.
Bye.